Welcome to the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast, where our goal is to help you increase your reputation as a leader, increase your ability to influence others, and increase your ability to fully engage your team to deliver remarkable results. Hi, I'm Holley, a Maxwell Leadership facilitator and coach.
And I'm Chris Goede, Executive Vice President with Maxwell Leadership. Welcome and thank you for joining. As we get started today, I want to encourage you to go to maxwellleadership.com/podcast. Click on this podcast there. You can fill out a form and you want to learn more about 5 levels, which this is ultimately what this entire podcast is built off of. Some 332 as of today.
This is 332, yes.
I was with a CEO and an executive team just recently, and they're like, how many podcasts have you done? I said, you mean, how many's Perry written? I was like, it's over 300. So if you want just to leave us a note, a comment, a thought about leadership and how we can help serve you, whether it's you and your team on site through training or coaching, we would love to be able to do that. You can find that form there.
If you have an idea for number 333, that would be helpful.
That would be very helpful for Perry, not Chris, but so go ahead and do that. Yeah. Well, today's topic is titled, It's Not Supposed to Be Lonely at the Top. Do you feel lonely in this podcast after I'm just calling you out? Yeah, you're lonely.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, I was on a coaching call. It's been a while since it happened, but but it came up recently. It's got me thinking about it again, but it was first call with a CEO of a large company on the East Coast, and I was getting to know him. We were talking, going back and forth, and when I was at the point, I said, tell me about your leadership. He goes, I wish if you're on YouTube, you can see me, but Perry, it is lonely at the top. It is so lonely at the top. And I hear John Maxwell in my ear, because John said, if you're lonely at the top, you're not doing it right.
That's right.
And so I took a pause and I just said, but I can't say that. It's first call. I didn't want to get fired right away. I like to get fired over time. But I said, well, I was on your website. I see you have 7 senior vice presidents. What about them? And he goes, yeah, I don't really like them. I don't trust them. I thought, well, I know why it's lonely at the top. And
then you're also going, hey, thanks, Chris, for connecting me with this CEO.
Well, actually, I thought, now I know where the next 12 months of calls are going to go. We can talk about this. But what do you think about it? Have you ever been lonely at the top? Do you feel is this a common thing? Or?
Well, I think it's funny because just today, before we recorded this podcast, I made a comment about at times I will protect my team from certain pace, certain situations, and as you're sitting there explaining that, and I'm beginning to think about this, I'm going, when you do that, it does make you feel lonely at times when you're doing that. But at the end of the day, I think that I don't necessarily feel that way because I have a team that I trust. I trust the leadership team. I think that's key in not feeling that. And what he said, right, which was, yeah, I don't like them and I don't trust them. And so that's why he feels that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did, we did develop a pretty good relationship, and I asked him more about it. But he said that he was always taught coming up as a leader. And I wonder if this is a bit generational in nature, because he's closer to my age than yours. But he said, I was brought up to not build close relationships with the people that work for me. Yeah. That because you might, I don't want to be close with them because I might have to fire them, or I might have to have to have a difficult conversation. And I really don't want to develop a friendship with you because I have to be your boss. And that he said, if I do develop a relationship with them, if I have a close relationship, they'll bring me their dirty laundry. And he was really nervous about people bringing their personal issues or their personal challenges to him. And I thought, well, this is really kind of makes it kind of understandable, is that he's keeping distance. I've heard John talk about that in his early career. He said he was actually taught the same thing, stay away.
Yeah.
But then as you talk about, well, what is leadership, is influence, you can't really build influence at a distance.
Yeah.
Influence is a little personal.
It is personal.
Yeah.
And we were talking a couple of weeks ago on one of our podcasts about filling your leadership pipeline. I would encourage you, if that's something that you're working on as a leader or have a deficit in, to go back and listen to that and give you some thoughts and ideas around how to do that. But that is one of your main jobs as a leader, as we talked about there, was to grow the leaders around you. And if you cannot grow more leaders, or if you are not growing your leaders, then it may be lonely at the top, which may have been one of, as you began to uncover, where he may have very competent leadership team, but he was not developing them. And then he felt lonely at the top. All right. So the truth about the top,
Yeah.
as you talked about.
I'm not there. Tell me what it's like where
I'm
you
not
are.
there either. But as you talked about John, and that voice was in your head, and him saying, lonely at the top. Yeah, no one ever gets to the top alone, right? That it takes a team. We could give you a ton of analogies and stories about that. Making it there is essential to taking others there. You have to work together as a team. You have to have people with you. And then finally, taking people to the top is more fulfilling than arriving there alone. To be able just to celebrate together when you achieve something and you get on top is what makes it all worth it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this leader that I'm speaking about, his loneliness was not a positional issue; it was a personality issue. And he and I worked on that mindset in our coaching over the next months. And he actually was very pleased when he invited me. He goes, you know what? I'd like for you to work with my 7 senior VPs. And so we started as a group, and then some one-on-ones after that. But I got to work with those 7. And then it was interesting to hear their perception of him in a group call, as they defined him as that level 1 leader. He didn't have a relationship with us. He didn't reach out to us. He didn't care about us. He just wanted us to do our jobs, and that he didn't value them as the people they were. And so a lot of the value that we did in this coaching was he opened up and began to build relationships with them. They, of course, were not trusting of that. They didn't know where it was coming from. Then they got introduced to our coaching, and that opened up, hey, we should all be more relational. And so seeing the bonds between the 7 and then back to him started to tear down these walls. And it doesn't have to be lonely at the top. We can actually, if you just follow these 5 levels of influence, these 5 levels of leadership, you say, yeah, I have the title, I'm the CEO, but I need to have a relationship with these people so that they'll know the 3 questions that I'm trying to help them, I care about them, and they can trust me. That's right. Now we can build this. Yeah.
Hey everybody, Ryan Leake here, and I've got some exciting news for you. Day to Grow is just a few weeks away, and it's happening on March 19th in Orlando, Florida, and I cannot wait to see you there. I'll be talking about my new book, How to Work with Complicated People. And let me tell you, this message has the power to change the way you lead and live. And it's not just me. John C. Maxwell is going to be in the building, Tim Tebow, Stephanie Chung, Jesse Itzler, and an amazing lineup of speakers will all be there pouring into you. But here's the thing, seats are filling up fast, so if you haven't registered yet, now is the time. Don't wait. Make the decision today to invest in your personal growth. I'll see you, my friend, in Orlando, Florida on March 19th. Let's grow together.
I like you talked about positional leader. It goes right back to what we were talking about, the 5 levels of leadership. And so this is something that Perry and I talk about often, and it breaks our heart, is that the organizations around the world that we actually travel to serve, so many leaders are stuck at level 1. They just stay right there. They're a positional leader. And so they probably do feel like it is lonely at the top. And so let's look at it this way. Let's say I do feel like I am lonely at the top. What can I do? Well, the 5 levels of leadership is a great place to start. We'll just start. You need to understand that methodology, right? And at that is level 1, where we want to encourage you to avoid the positional thinking, avoid the command and control, avoid the, hey, because I said so, right? Begin to understand, what do you need to be doing with your team to be able to increase your influence, not just because you're not leading just because of the title on your chest. And I also want to encourage you about, don't just think about building a P&L or a team or an organization. I want you to think about building a culture of leadership.
That's good.
And you can build a team, but man, if you build a culture of leadership, the members of those teams are going to change in and out, right? You think about some of the greatest coaches. We talk a lot about sports on this podcast, about NFL or even college football. And you look at it, and the culture lasts more than the team does. But when the team comes into the culture and it's one of leadership, then it's not very lonely. in that side of that organization, no matter if you're the newest player on the team or if you're a coach that's been there forever.
I think another thing you can do is just, let's just be real. There's some upsides and downsides of success and failure. And I thought if you're so enamored with your success, again, you thinking like I'm doing it on my own, that you can look down on others, and that could cause them to pull back and stop associating with you. There's that can make some loneliness. But also, if you have a failure, you're not succeeding, you're failing, that could be embarrassing, shameful. Other emotions rise, and you pull back from that. So both extremes can fuel this an unhealthy separation from others. So I want to have a balanced view of success and failure, so that I know that our success is together. And so I want to connect with you and go to that level 2 and level 3.
Yeah. Third, understand you're in the people business. Okay, let's just stop.
Wait a minute.
I'll be traveling around, and people, you're on planes and airports, and for those of you that have been listening a long time, if you listen to us, Perry likes to sit in airports or walk around airports and force people to smile at him. I at least try to have a conversation with them, and as we're traveling, hey, what do you do? What do you do? And talk about leadership development and what does that mean and this, that. And I'm like, do you have people that work with you? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, you're in the people business, and we can help you with your people. In essence, it doesn't matter your industry. It doesn't matter what you're doing. We are all in the people business. So with that being said, let's just be honest here. We've got to like people.
Yeah.
We have to like people. Otherwise, you'll never add value to them. Now, you don't need to love all people, but you got to have a little bit of like. And as John said, there's got to be common ground somewhere, even if it's 1%, go figure out what that is and be able to connect with them. And so now do this in the right way. We often talk about there's a fine line between manipulation and influence. It's the motive behind it.
Right.
But make sure that you are in it for the motive of helping the people become better, bigger, and more competent than they've ever been.
Well, I've heard John say, if you don't like people, you're going to have a very difficult time leading.
Yeah.
Because, and you do need to love them. And you say, love them? I don't even like them. But
That's right.
We're talking about love as an action, not love as I can't make you feel anything, but I can take actions like being kind, being patient, being, selfless.
Yeah.
Another one, number 4, I think it is, would be you got to buy into this law of significance. John says the law of significance is that 1 is too small a number to achieve greatness. So if you are trying to fulfill your vision for your group, your team, your organization on your own, then your vision is too small. If it's something you can do by yourself, then it's not worth doing. But make it big and involve others, and that realize that 1 is too small a number. The law of significance happens when you involve others in the vision.
Yeah. As I get ready to wrap up, this is something that has impacted me for a long time. I'll never forget early on in my career with John, we'd be different places, and he'd introduce me, and he would never say that I work for him. He says, I work with Chris. Mm-hmm. And it was a small way back then of letting people know, like, we're a team. Like, this is a culture of a team, and that we're working on this, and this is what we're trying to accomplish. And it's never just about him. Now, he may be setting the vision, but when we are putting boots to the ground and we're out there getting after it, it's about the team. And that just creates that team environment, so that when we do accomplish whatever that vision is, that we're all together at the top. As I finally just give you a couple thoughts and wrap up, I thought about this as I was thinking about the content today. I've accomplished some things personally, and that's been a lot of fun. But man, when I accomplish things with other people and a team, it just is 10x the excitement level. Then I got to thinking about, from a sports analogy, I started thinking about individual sports, and I started thinking about professional golfers. And now more than ever, when a professional golfer wins something and they start talking to the press or whatever, now you hear them talking about their trainers and the we and so there is not even individual sports that should be lonely at the top, because it's a team environment. So just be aware of that and some of the things that Perry and I talked about, and make sure you understand that you do have to like people to be in the leadership space.
You want to carry your bag by yourself?
Yeah.
You want to rake that trap on your own?
That's right. You want to fly that plane? You want to make the hotel bed? Whatever.
Right. That's right. Great stuff, Chris. Well, thank you all. And it's a reminder, if you would like the learner guide for this, learn about our offerings or learn about our other podcast offerings, you can do all that at maxwellleadership.com/podcast. You can also leave us a question or a comment, and we love so much to hear from you. And we're grateful that you would join us today. That's all from the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast.
Hey, podcast listeners. Many of you listening right now would probably love the autonomy that comes with owning your own business or becoming a coach that helps other businesses succeed. Well, we have a phenomenal strategy where you are 100% in control of your own business, earning income on your own terms, and have access to the people, tools, and resources you need to build a thriving leadership development business. When you become a Maxwell Leadership Certified team member, you join a global community of entrepreneurs led by our expert team of mentors and faculty, including John C. Maxwell. You'll also get one of the top leadership certifications in the world next to your name, giving you the boost you need to get started. Visit us online at maxwellleadership.com/join the team to find out more.